Hello everyone, I'm David and welcome back to My Global Kitchen. We're starting this video in a rather plush surroundings of the Royal Overseas League in the heart of London as we finish preparations for our move to Gran Canaria next week. But the setting's quite appropriate. The motto of the club is Ubique Navigavimus, which roughly translated means we voyage everywhere. And that's exactly what I plan to do over the next year, to take you on an expedition through the culinary delights of around 12 different countries or regions. I'm working on a list of around 50 dishes, which I'll be making over the next year, grouped roughly by months with some common themes. Most of these themes relate to the 9 countries that I've been fortunate enough to call home over decades of work and travel. These countries include the UK, Slovenia, France, Albania, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Moldova, Ghana, and very shortly Spain. My time in these countries has given me a wonderful opportunity to taste, cook and experiment with a diverse range of dishes and recipes, and of course enjoy many other wonderful experiences. But I've also visited and experienced the cuisine of a lot of other countries and places, which I also want to include in this series. But before we get on to the individual countries, I want to spend this first month looking at the wider subject of the global kitchen and how travel, trade and influence have produced the regional and national cuisines we have today. So now I just want to introduce you to that subject through a dozen key ingredients which are commonly used throughout the world nowadays, but most of which have much more specific geographic origins. And what more appropriate starting point for that than the ubiquitous, universal pizza. This is a fresco discovered very recently in the ruins of Pompeii, and it certainly looks like the dish on the left could be some form of early pizza. Even if it isn't, we do know that the idea of covering flatbeds with vegetables had already been around for a few centuries, even by then. The reality is that a Pompeian pizza might have included white cheese, onions, garlic and olives, even the fairly recently imported basil, but not much more. Still potentially pretty tasty though, but definitely no tomatoes, no mozzarella, cheddar or yellow cheese, no peppers, no sweet corn, and definitely no pineapple. Many of you might think that's a good thing, but in short, not a lot of variety. Can you imagine Italian cuisine without tomatoes now? Or Indian curry without chilies? West African dishes without rice? Or even a KFC without chicken? But that is how things were for millennia. Before the creation of trading routes like the Silk Road and later on the Age of Discovery, the Spice Wars, the development of global trade and of course the linking of the old and new worlds through what is known as the Columbus Exchange. All of these things were crucial to the development of the national and regional cuisines we now know and love. And during the course of the next year, I'll do a couple of extra videos about these events and their impact. But for now, let's focus on the ingredients themselves. So, in this first set of recipes this month, I'm going to do some of the dishes which are a clear result of this expansion of trade and exchange of ingredients between regions and how some things have become staple global foods. But at the same time, I want to show how so many great dishes from around the world share that base of common ingredients. Well, here we are, and welcome to our new home in Gran Canaria. We're already settling in very well and have even done a bit of shopping, especially for that basket of essentials, which we're going to be talking about next. So, here is my platter of core ingredients, and let's start with possibly the most ubiquitous of all, the onion and its half-sister, the garlic. They probably originated somewhere in Central Asia, but even by the time of the Phoenicians and the Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians, they were already widespread. And even in the Americas, they had a form of wild garlic. So we can genuinely say that garlic and onion are global ingredients to be found everywhere, as indeed are salt and pepper. In fact, the story of salt is so interesting it probably deserves its own video at some point in the future, but not for now. But after we get off those ingredients, it gets much more complicated. Tomatoes, peppers, avocados, chilies, potatoes were unknown in Europe and Asia until they were first brought over in the 16th century from the Americas. And most of the common herbs and spices that we use nowadays originated in Central or Eastern Asia and only reached Europe and the Americas more recently. This map focuses on the Columbus Exchange and shows a range of fruit, vegetables, grains and animals which form part of that exchange between the Old and New Worlds, primarily in the 16th and 17th centuries. And it's probably fairly obvious that the development of the Silk Road from China and the Far East to Europe, the age of exploration by sea to the east and then westwards, was central to the development of most of the dishes we have today, whether it's pizza, curry, Sichuan chili beef, spaghetti bolognese, Mexican fajitas, or West African jollof rice. So here we have our full tray of ingredients, and let me take you through it. We have milk, eggs, honey, vinegar, olive oil, rice, the onion and garlic of course, potatoes, lemon, tomatoes, peppers, hot chili peppers, flour, the salt and pepper, and then for additional flavourings we have aniseed, cinnamon, cumin, coriander and some root ginger. And even with this basic assortment we can do so much. We can make our own pasta with the eggs and the flour if we want to. We can make our own rice flour from the rice if we have a gluten intolerance. And we can use this as a base for so many wonderful dishes. We could make a wonderful pasta napolitana. We could make an Indian vegetable curry. We could do a Spanish tortilla. We could even do an egg custard. The possibilities are almost limitless. But next week I'm going to start off with a fairly simple summer Spanish traditional dish, using 7 of these ingredients, maybe 8, plus a cucumber. Can you guess what it is? You'll find out next Saturday. But we've only just arrived this week and the first job is to unpack, get the kitchen sorted and do some more shopping. So to fuel myself for all of that, let's ease ourselves into our new adventure with a glass of Spanish wine and a song about one of the dishes which I'm sure we'll be doing later on in the year, and which really encapsulates the concept of fusion food and cultures. Cheers.